Set? Okay, we will reopen the meeting in open session here. We just had an executive session for the purpose of discussing collective bargaining. At this time, as we do every week, we will ask for any public input, if anybody out there would like to be heard on any issue. I see a lot of people, but no one wants to be heard. I guess that's good. Next, we're going to move to, the agenda around a little bit. Tonight we have 2 awards of appreciation to be handed out to 2 gentlemen who have been extremely important to our school district, one over the past few years and one over the past 50 years. No, not 50, close to 50. But what I'd like to do at this time is have Patty Bullard come up and introduce the person who will receive the first award of appreciation tonight from the school committee. Patty?
Thank you. I'm very happy to introduce Mr. Mike Larkin tonight. Mr. Larkin contacted me back in the fall after he had viewed an episode of 60 Minutes that focused on the use of iPads with students diagnosed with autism. He was so inspired and so excited after seeing that show that he contacted me and he said, "How can I help?" And he wanted to purchase or donate iPads for the use of in our programs, our autism programs, and that's exactly what he's done. At this point in time, he's donated 3 iPad 2s to the district. They are currently being utilized with individual students in the acquisition of language, and it's been so successful. And as you know, it aligns with our iPad initiatives as well. And Mr. Larkin hasn't stopped there. He contacts me frequently, wants to know what else he can do, and I look forward to working with him and in our common effort in supporting students diagnosed with autism.
That's great. Why don't you come on up to the table? I'll give you...
I just want to point out, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Larkin, you've contributed a number of different times over the years, up to now too, is that right? I remember other donations.
Maybe I'm not really. I don't really remember, but maybe I know if I was asked, I did.
Okay, I remember the other donations as well.
First of all, here's your award.
Well, thank you,
very
sir.
much.
Thank you.
I think it's interesting, Mr. Larkin, I know he was a resident of North Reading at one time, but you no longer live in the town. And I think that's great for someone who I think appreciated what you got out of the North Reading schools, and it's great to have someone like you continue to, donate and to help the schools do what they need to do, which is to teach our kids. Any words you have to say about?
Yes, first of all, I'd just like to thank you folks for the honor, and I'm very humbled by it and everything else. And Patty used the word inspired. And the events that happened, I mean, there was a bigger hand on this whole thing, okay? So after I saw that, and my original thought was, okay, I'll buy these iPads for the girls, and then I will find someone to tutor them so they'd learn how to use them. And then all of a sudden it popped in my mind that I had a very good friend, Maureen Vaca. And I knew she'd been on the school, so I called Maureen. And Steve Jobs, in his speech at Stanford, said you cannot connect the dots going forward. Only when you get to where you be can you look back and see the dots. And I was talking with Maureen. I said, Maureen, who would ever thought all those years you sat on the school committee was a dot, that here, when I need some advice, you're available. So she put me in touch with Patty Bullard. And boy, I came in here, and what a person you guys have got there. Forward thinking and everything. She said, Mike, look, you don't have to convince me this is a good idea. Not only do we know it's a good idea, we already have a program in place for this, which was amazing. So she said, look, you get me the iPads, and 48 hours from now, the girls will have them in the classroom being taught. And that is so refreshing. And Mr. Daly from, I think, head of tech.
Patrick Daly, right.
Patrick Daly, and he said, yes, this is a great thing. Because after that, I'd talked to another school system who had, and they wouldn't even return my calls. No. And I come to North Reading, and they're just jumping up and down, and I was the most excited guy in the world, running over Best Buy, get the things, run back. And that evening when I got home, I mean, that's what I mean. How does that happen? That I see the story, know a lady, and the school already has it in place. That isn't a coincidence. There aren't any coincidences.
No.
So then I got home that evening, and my daughter Bonnie, who also graduated from North Reading, said, Dad, I'd like to help. Maybe I can volunteer and help the teachers. So she ended up going to the Hood School twice a week to help teach. And again, she runs into the teacher, Leanne. I don't know if she's here tonight. But what another welcoming person. And I told Bonnie, I said, it took a lot of courage. Bonnie had a degree in psychology from the University of Hartford, but she had never taught, and she'd never had an iPad in her hands. And I said, that took courage to grab that iPad and walk through that door. And she had such a great experience that I think she's taking a class this year in the summertime to get certified to teach children with autism.
Great.
And I also get to help out up in Haverhill, a place called Open Hearts, and this guy has taught me the biggest lesson. Mike, when you help people out, you get the best deal. And believe me tonight, I get the best deal. But I want to just thank you guys and honor the teachers and Miss Bullard and everything else for the tremendously forward-thinking people they are and the work they're doing. I mean, it was obvious they had the children's interest at heart and were moving to take care of issues where in other school systems they wouldn't even return the call. But,
We're glad
so,
to hear
gentlemen,
that.
thank you very much.
Hang around, and we're gonna take some pictures in a few minutes. So don't leave. Hang around, okay? Now our next guest of honor tonight. I suppose most of us at the table here, and most of us at the out in the audience, could tell a story or two about Mr. Frank Carey.
Some you can't tell, but
Right, well, coming off his 47th year of coaching, and I believe his 47th and final year of teaching, and his 5th state championship, is that correct?
Yes.
And I guess you can't say enough about Frank. Not only you can say, well, great, he got 5 state champions, he coached baseball for 47 years, and that's a tremendous accomplishment. But I think a bigger accomplishment is teaching for 47 years and having an impact on the lives of, I can't multiply that high, but of thousands and tens of thousands of students over that 47 years. And I think that the mentoring and the coaching of the baseball team, you can talk about a lot of great coaches, but you don't find a lot of coaches that have the support system that Frank Carey has. I've never seen a time in this town when we needed something, not only for the baseball team, because Frank loves baseball, but he helps out in other areas too, where his guys going back a lot of years are there to help him out and to help the town out. And I think that that's commendable. I know Jerry's been around the town, I think, a little longer than I have, and might have a few things to say also.
no, I think some towns and some athletic programs get to be known through a certain sport. I mean, you have like football in Brockton, and you have in the old days basketball, and some of like hockey's Catholic Memorial, and I think North Reading is baseball. I've been around in different places, and I run into people. As soon as they hear I'm from North Reading, the first thing they ask me is, "Do you know Frank Carey?" And I said, "Yes, I do. Why do you want to know?" No, but I mean, I really think North Reading has, when you look at their high school sports programs, you think baseball, and for obvious reasons. I mean, Mel didn't mention, but Frank's at 697 wins. He's only 3 away, and I think he'll get that in the first 3 games next year. But it's unbelievable. I can remember one of my sons playing for him, and like a lot of fathers, I had been his Little League coach all the way up until he got to high school, basically. And, that's what we all did. And I remember him going out for the team, and after a week, he comes home and he says, "Dad," he says, "I learned more from Coach Carey in 1 week about baseball than I learned in my entire life." And I said, "Oh, thanks." And it took a whole week. I mean, he didn't mean it that way, but that's what he said, and it's true. So I couldn't be happier for Frank with this championship team. It's unbelievable.
So Frank, why don't you come up to the chair here and tell us a little bit of a few stories you might want to tell, just a few. And actually, you've got your captains here tonight,
Yes.
too. I don't know if they want to.
I'd like
you
to-
guys pull a seat up here also.
My 2 captains, thank you very much. Kyle Boucher, our right fielder, and Jonathan Gravelisi, our second baseman. First of all, this is subterfuge, I believe is the word. I thought I was coming here to make a presentation regarding a trip, and then I'm getting these accolades, which I'm very appreciative of it. But I'm more appreciative of the way the team played. My teams, not only this year but in the past, I think have always given themselves a good presentation on the field, both on and off the field, and consequently, I think they've been a source of pride in the community. The way our kids play on the field and the way they perform in school in terms of discipline and all of that. Again, I've been proud of them both on and off the field. And when you get a team that wins a state championship, you tend to, you know, anytime you hear of an NBA or a professional baseball team that wins a championship, it was always, we had great camaraderie, we had a great team feeling. And, you know, that's the way it is at North Reading every year, whether we win a state championship or whether we win or we just participate. And we have developed quite a group of alumni guys, as was mentioned. They're very supportive of the team. They were so proud of this team's accomplishments, I can't tell you. And many of them reflected back to championship games that they won and the excitement that they had, whether it be David Lee and the fire truck coming into town when he won a state championship, or whether it was that player that lost in the state finals or even in a league championship. It all brought back memories, and it certainly gave them that continued ability to be able to say, yes, we're from North Reading. Not only do we have an outstanding school system, but we have a pretty good baseball team there too. So, again, on behalf of Jonathan and Kyle, I won't let them speak. You wanted to hear some stories. I have a lot of stories, but like you said, Jerry, we probably can't talk about them here. But I'll just finish with that. I'm humbled again that I'm before the school committee and not being chastised.
Well,
Thank you.
I just want to mention for this specific team, the only two seniors of the team are flanking Coach Carey right now. So next year we have seven of the 9 starters back. The 2 starting pitchers are back.
Right.
And you can't expect a state championship every year, but you can only expect great things from the kids because it's a great group of kids. And you know, as Jerry said, when I moved into this town, I feel badly because I just couldn't get my son interested in playing baseball. And I used to say, Tom, we live in North Reading. What do you mean you're not going to play baseball? But you know, that's what this town is known for, and we appreciate all the years. Look, 47 years coaching. I know you said when the new school's done, you don't. 3 years, Frank, to 50. Come on, 3 years to 50 years. You got to be able to make that.
If Jerry didn't correct me on my math, I'm sitting here at graduation night. I'm saying, Jerry, it's 48 years, 40 years. And as Mrs. Willis was speaking, I'm counting on my fingers, and I realize all this time I was wrong. I was off by a year.
So he's staying another
year. Yeah. If I knew it was 48, I might have. But anyways,
my
thank you very much.
My other favorite thing I got to say is reading that story that I think Bob Toros wrote or somebody from the transcript wrote, which was a great piece going over all your years. The fact that you started as a science teacher and some of your comments in there, I was laughing, you know, when you said, here's the way I stayed ahead of my guys. I'd give them an assignment and I'd read 3 or 4 pages more each night. And that way, if they asked me a question, I'd be able to have the answer to it.
Well, that was true.
And then
That's a true story.
The other thing you talked about with you walked in and you saw all that electronic equipment in the room and you were like, what the heck is this stuff?
Well, it was good stuff for them to throw at me. As a 21-year-old teacher, there were diodes and electrodes and all kinds of things. They look well.
I happened to see a bunch of kids over the weekend, and they had obviously read the story, and they said, Coach Carey was a science teacher? And I said, so help me God, that's a true story. And they says, no way. And honest to God, they wouldn't believe it.
So,
Put the man on the moon.
as I said, we're going to take just a brief recess here so the committee can get some pictures with the 2 award winners tonight, and then we'll restart here in a second. So,
You want the whole committee?
Yeah, the whole committee, yeah. So, and we'll let Bob can stage us. You want to get us with each individual? Two different pictures.
The committee, just the committee.
Well, yeah, we can always put Frank, so we'll have Mr. Frank.
In the center.
Stand in the middle. And then, where would you like to be? Kind of stand in the middle.
No, we're gonna take a different picture of you, Mike.
Oh.
So,
You want your mic first?
okay, we'll
Yeah.
do Mike first.
So one, Mike. No, you're right there, the other Mike.
Patty, why don't you
Two
stand
Mike.
next between Mel and Mike there?
We have to.
I'll do what, Jerry, I'll do what I can in Photoshop, but I'm not promising.
Melissa says you can have a picture what you put into it.